Alright, for all you packet radio and especially APRS fans out there, we're going to do an external speaker mod on the JT-6188 transceiver. Step number one, of course, is remove the screws from the case, which we've already done. Now, turning the unit over, we can see what's inside. Very nice layout. Our particular area of interest is going to be on the left here, where we're interested in the speaker wires. If you see those two black wires in the lower left-hand corner, that is our speaker ground and hot. And I've confirmed from the data sheet for the speaker driver that is a single-ended operation, so we don't have to worry about bridge speaker output circuits. So after careful study of the case, we found there's not really a real good place to add the jack. We will end up going in the back above the brass heatsink that's shown at the top of the screen there. In order to do that, we had to remove the serial number label, which was easily done with a X-Acto knife. A razor blade, a safety razor blade, would work just as well. So here's the location I've chosen for my jack. A couple factors were involved. I did confirm with an ohm meter that the brass plate is DC ground, and the var log on the jack is also, you'll notice, the chassis ground. So it won't really matter if those do come in direct contact with each other. We'll try and maintain clearance or possibly cut the lug. We don't actually have to attach to it for this application. Keep in mind the other lugs on there and the large metal area will be hot with audio at some point. Notice there's not much clearance between the bottom cover, which is relatively thin and could bend, between there and the jack. So we want to try and maintain clearance there. You'll notice I've left a fair amount of area to the right. Being an optimist, I'm hoping to be able to do a discriminator tap at some point and want to leave room for another jack there. Next, we'll drill a hole. Alright, it may be a little difficult to see, but I've applied some shipping tape to keep chips from drilling out of the circuit board area. You certainly don't want any surprises after the mod is completed. Note, like shingling a roof, you want to start at the bottom, which is the near side, and work your way up so that anything that falls is deflected away from the chassis. So after some work with a scale, some measurements, some fudging, and using the washer for reference, now we've got our location selected for our hole. First we'll drill a small pilot hole. So it looks like we did okay with the pilot hole. Now we'll move on to the main hole. There you have it, the hole is complete. A couple things along the way. I did elect to do an intermediate size before I went with the full size hole. And you'll also note that due to the thickness of the casting, I had to put a relief cut in. Normally you would do this from the back, but wanting to keep the drill bit as far away from the internal electronics as possible, I elected to do it on the back. So here I've attached my wires to the jack. Notice it's much easier to do this before you mount the jack than after. So here's the jack in place. Keep in mind that any of the audio conducting circuits must be kept away from the brass tab. In fact, we'll add some heat shrink to ensure they don't come in contact. So here we are back at the speaker leads. Notice we lifted the hot one. The one closest to the chassis wall is our ground reference. That remains in place. And now we've made our final connections. Again, make sure that the line going to the circuit board is the one that feeds the tip of the jack, and the return line comes back and feeds the speaker. Note we also put heat shrink on the joint to protect it. So now we've replaced the covers and put the serial number sticker on the back in a slightly higher position. So the serial number is maintained, but we did have to make a slight divot to allow for the jack opening. And there you have it. Our modification is complete.
Ask for the northern
The external speaker is playing nicely.
Mostly clear. Lows 52 to 56.
Unplug.
East winds 5 to 15 miles
And
per
we
hour.
revert to the internal
Wednesday,
speaker.
a chance of light showers and isolated thunderstorms. Mostly sunny until 2 p.m. Then